Thanks for coming today. We're going to talk about exploratory testing. This is sort of the second one in sort of series that I'm doing about things with AI. And first one was about TDD, test-driven development. And yeah, you can watch it on the YouTube channel. This one is going to be about exploratory testing with AI. And I have a feeling that other webinars in the future are going to be along in the series with AI. Trying to, at least, I'm going to say it a couple of times, what I'm going to show you today is timely. It's not about judging the LLM that I'm going to show you I worked with. It's Claude, I think 3.7. And I'm sure what I'm going to show you today is going to be better tomorrow and in 3 months and 6 months, or maybe LLMs. It's not, and especially today when we talk about the exploratory testing, it's not about the engine. It's about how we can and should change when we're interacting with LLMs, with AIs to at least boost our effectiveness. And so this is what it's going to be about. So that's me, I'm Gil. I'm a trainer and a consultant, and I work with people, developers, testers, anybody who wants to make software better. I have courses and trainings, and I do mentoring and quality reviews in companies. And if what you find here is interesting to you, let me know, because there's a better way that if you're interested in one of the things that I talked about, training, mentoring, whatever, talk to me. Hopefully I can help. So I was pretty happy to find this because I said, I've never used this in a session before. Yes, finally, Spaceballs in a session. So what are we talking about? So if you think about exploratory testing, it's something that if you haven't done before formally, you've done it somewhere. It's whenever you're exploring things, you're going into new area, it's going to be a new application you just downloaded, or whatever. If you're working on that, you're exploring, you find out things that's happening. Maybe you're judging things like this should work, this is not work. Maybe it's like you've done exploratory testing like formally for months and years, and you know how to do this. What you'll find is that you're thinking, well, obviously, this cannot be replaced by a human. And I mostly agree. The mostly part is because of the parts. Because if you start breaking things down into like, what are we actually doing in exploration, then you'll find out that some of the bits can be sped up. And I think this is like what the main message I want you to keep in mind today. The things that we're doing, and it can be applied also in some ways to other types of testing, but things that we are doing that can be, let's say, can be more effective, sometimes more productive in it. This is opposed to other things like if you're working off manual procedures, like do step by step. And if you've been to one of my sessions before, I sometimes talk about one of my regression testing session that takes like 3 days that I did long ago on a machine. And one of the things I talk about exploration is that it has a human point of view. So obviously you can't have like people being attentive like 3 days. So you need to spell it out for them. Like you do this and this and this and this and this, and you look at this and this. And say if you take this sort of mindset, put it in automation, the same thing. There's no in the way. You're just doing things from top to bottom. The computer does, but not you. And no off-road. But sometimes you want to go off-road. This is where you're going exploring. And I like this specific image because it's about how they're combing the desert and when they're searching for someone. And obviously, this is not the way. So Dora here knows how to explore. I want to say a couple of things about exploration. Usually we're talking about what is exploration. It's about responding. You're doing small steps, you see what's happening, see, hear, whatever, and you respond to that by selecting the next step. And this is why we're thinking about how can this be done by a computer? Well, really, it can't. With an asterisk that we'll go back to. Two things that I also talk about in exploration is the planning, which is usually we call it charters. Think about charters as a lightweight planning tool. So it's not like create a whole STP document or something like that. You said, like, I want to focus on these kind of areas and going to explore them. Sometimes you don't even say what you're expected to see. Sometimes you know, sometimes you think you know, sometimes you expect something. And there's no like, you do this and this and this and this without going off-road. You do something, you see, and you respond. The other thing are smaller sessions. And this is something that we going to talk about too. I talked about the human aspect of exploration, and is that you need, when you're exploring, you need to be attentive. And this is why when we're doing exploration, it's not like we'll do the whole 3-day thing that I did. It's not like I didn't take breaks. Of course I did take breaks. But the idea is that when we're exploring stuff, we need to be attentive, be listening, be looking at things, so we can say, aha, this is interesting. Let's do something about this. Let's explore it better. So sessions, charters, these are things that are not going away, but we'll see how we can use AI to help us do something about them. So, like I said, there are, if you start splitting things, I'll show you examples of how I'm talking about splitting tasks in exploration. You'll see that these are the things that can be sped up, and most of the time people will do it. Like, if not today, they'll do it tomorrow. And the idea is that we'll keep the human thing, the look and respond, act, look and respond thing to ourselves. But other things we can really delegate. One of the things that I said the word judgment. This is something that today we feel that computer cannot judge. It's not true anymore. They can, but of course it depends on patterns and what the data was, what kind of data it was trained on. So it does judge. So when you're thinking about, that's interesting, I'm going to do this, sometimes in the future, probably somebody can do this for you or instead of you, but there's a but here. Assuming that you're working on something that is very generic, I'm going to show you example things from very generic stuff. The judgment of AI decision-making is going to be pretty good, because if everybody has done it and sort of donated their data to LLMs to be trained on, you'll get better results. Let's say average result maybe, but sort of like if it's a common thing, you'll see the results there. If it's not, and this is like you're doing something that usually is unique to whatever you're doing, this is where you want to keep something to yourself. And this is like it's going to be repeated in everything that I'm going to show you today. You need your expertise, your judgment, something that I think that it's going to take time until we train computers to do. So even the on-the-spot decisions, what you're going to do next, today it's going to be up to you. Again, with that asterisk, we'll see. However, these guys, well, what's happening in their brains, didn't know anything about AI when they were doing Star Trek, but apparently they predicted some of the future. Some of the things that we're going to look at, we can do today, and you probably know that if not perfect, and it won't be perfect, they can be sped up incredibly. And this can give us a boost, especially if you're like starting your way in exploration or starting your way in an application. So what you should look at, stuff like that, yeah, it can give you a boost. So I'm going to talk about our subjects today. So I'm going to show you example from two things. The first thing that we're going to talk about is I used my Claude Assistant to ask things about this site. This is Swag Labs. It's a demo site for automation. You can play with it. You can write scripts against it. See, they have accepted usernames and passwords, and you can log in. So this is like a shopping site, e-commerce site. No, I don't want. Okay, I know it's. So it's a shopping site, and if you've seen one shopping site and you've seen all of it, this is something like that. So there's a cart and stuff like that. You can select things, you can sort things. It's a nice, interesting site. So I based my things on that. The other patient is my Star Trek API, which if you've seen my sessions about API exploration, this is it. So it's a site about that exposes APIs. And I wanted to do a couple of things with, not just with the UI and get ideas for UI, but also for APIs. Interesting, not interesting, but something that you should know. This site also has a schema that it exposes that you can feed into your favorite AI engine, and it can come up with ideas. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into PyCharm, and because going to be a couple of things with Python, but I decided I'm going to do everything, including prompts and inside it. It's not going to be live. It's going to be what I recorded. So let's go. So the first thing I started with is suggestions. So this you probably know. Give me suggestions about how to test. So this is like the basic of the basic. I'm sure you've done it. If you haven't, like this is a real-time save. Especially if you're working on something that is like I said, the e-commerce site. Working on an e-commerce site, the suggestions would be pretty good. So let's look at what I did. So this is the prompt I gave it. I want to test charters for source demo. The main page is here. This is a sample e-commerce site. Main page contains login credentials you can use. You can also buy things without actual money. This is relevant, I think. And I want charters. So what I ask for is creating charters. Charters run following: main page, login scenarios, product page, all kinds of scenarios, and checkout process, complete and incomplete scenarios. So that I don't know much about the site about it. It's e-commerce, and it gave me very nice ideas. So I'll create test charters for you for the login, explore login functionality with valid credentials, invalid usernames and passwords, examine accessibility for keyboard navigation. I wasn't thinking about that, but hey, that's cool. Security, common attack patterns, login page. And for the product, investigate product sorting, product filtering, which is not there. This is why you need a human in the process. There is no product filtering in the page. So you need to be aware of what you're actually looking at. And product detail information, checkout flow, various product quantities, order processing, form validation, checkout abandonment. So this is pretty good. Like 3 seconds and you have just this. And of course you can like talk to it more and give you more suggestions. But as a starter, it's great. So I want to do another thing, the same thing actually with my API. So apart from putting a suggestions box instead of suggestion. So I told it I want to create charters for a single API. The site has multiple APIs. It's covered both in the documentation and the YAML, so I'm focusing on just single API, HTTP, blah, 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 the character search API, the one I was searching for Spock, for example. A post API. This is interesting because it used to be just posts, but also it gets today. You can see the OpenAPI docs in the YAML that I gave you. Please suggest charters for the search. And 3 seconds later, here are the results. So basic search functionality using various character names to verify accurate results. Pagination. So this is like, I didn't give it anything apart from the YAML. So the YAML is the schema. It talks about pagination, how many records I want to bring in one page or something like that. So I can play with that as parameters. Search filters, gender, species, status, again, from the schema. Give it a schema, it will understand. Error handling, malformed requests, things that I really like to do. And if you've seen the Exploring with Postman webinar, I did that. So malformed requests, what happens when you're not sending the data it expects? Special characters in Unicode, I did that. Performance boundaries of complex search criteria, which I don't know what it is, but it's an idea. Concurrent search requests. This is like starting like I'm testing an API, but in a different way. Partial name matching functionality. Again, I did that before. API versioning. So if you recall, the API is V1. There is no V2, but it tells me, well, what happens when you're doing like versions? It's interesting. So that's cool, of course. And I said, okay, I'm lazy. How about, I want examples. So like, lead me to what you're actually doing. I asked for the API thing, can you give me examples for each one based on the documentation? So look what I got. So basic search functionality, Kurt, Picard, Spock, obviously. Pagination, 0, 10, page size 100, maximum allowed. How does it know? Schema, documentation. Page numbers beyond available, so that's sort of an edge case, right? Boundary condition. I want to show you the filtering. Okay, that's nice. Combine filters. Again, if you're not familiar exactly with everything, 3 seconds and I got this. Malformed JSON. I want to show you something like special characters, the poll. It's interesting here, like Worf, son of Mog. So if you know Star Trek, Worf is the son of Mog. So first, it suggests the non-Latin names, but what I got a kick out of this thing is that it's not just regular thing. It combines the content world of Star Trek with what I want to test. So I was thinking like, hey, Spock and Picard and stuff like, and Kirk and stuff like that. Yeah, but it can give me not just an example of something out of the world of Star Trek, but an actual name that might be possible to use. So this is like, I didn't give it anything, but obviously Claude knows Star Trek. Who wouldn't? So depending on what you put in and what it actually already knows, it can combine and give you better examples for usage in your testing. So this is very cool. Other things, again, same here, like Tom Paris and Owen Paris, his father from Voyager. Like I wouldn't think about doing this. Like I would think about examples. And I've done like, how many Spocks do you have? Like 5 Spocks. But these are concrete examples from the content world that we're talking about. So these are basically much better than like just examples that I may even, if I think about the case, maybe invent and not try to find out something completely into this content world. So this is like very interesting idea. And the cool thing about this suggestion is like, I know Star Trek, so I can appreciate the effort. Okay. So the next thing I did, I think I went back to my UI thing. So I said, I'm not sure about you, but I don't have all the time in the world, so I need to do some prioritization. I mentioned that at the beginning, like I need to do prioritization, right? I'm the human, I understand. I understand where we are. If we're testing it for the first time, I understand if we're testing it for the fifth time. So I can have some kind of judgment. I should have some. I understand the risks. I know what was added. So I need to have some kind of way of directing it. But at this point, I said, okay, if you were a user, what would you do? So I asked it, I don't have time to explore everything. Can you prioritize the suggestions based on usual user behavior in an e-commerce site? And I think this is what I was getting it, because I was saying there are a lot of other e-commerce sites. People use them today. How would you test it? And again, this may not be your case, but if others have done it before, probably there is some kind of information, and meaning that the quality of the results will probably be better. So this is the response I got. So it gave me high priority, medium priority, lower priority. The high priority are logging functionality, invite credentials, product browsing and filtering. There is no filtering, okay. Add to cart functionality, complete checkout with valid information, and form validation during checkout. These are like, yeah, these are more important than the things that come after that, like login error handling and sorting. Again, filtering, I'm not sure if it's better than sorting, but I can move stuff around. Again, and it gives me a boost in the, if I don't know enough, if I'm not familiar enough, it gives me a boost. I don't need to start with drawing everything on a board and like moving notes around or lines around in an Excel sheet. It can give me a boost. I still need to review it. This is not going away. We can't trust these things completely, even in 3 months and 1 year from now. And the lower priority, yep, if I don't have time today, I probably won't do them. If this is the 5th time I'm testing it, and I'm pretty sure this already works, I will probably go to this thing. I may ask differently. Prioritization focuses on the main conversion funnel. Talks to me about conversions. Authentication system works properly, which aligns with typical. So yeah, it makes sense. If I know more, I can judge it better. If I don't know, it's a good point to start. It won't help if I don't have like at least a bit of confidence, let's call it, to choose what it's doing, at least approve what it's doing. Don't approve completely. Like I said, it has things that appear in other sites, but not in ours. Okay. Final thing I want to do about sort of planning is like, what's the next step? Like I finished my charter early in my session, and everything's tested. I found that everything, where do I go now? So I asked it about, and here, what do I do next? So the prompt was, I'm at the product page where the products are. I've tested all scenarios of sorting. The page is now sorted by price, high to low. This is one of the things that you can from the dropdown. So I'm giving it like a starting point. What should I test next? Now that you have tested the sorting scenarios, here are the logic things. Add to cart functionality, product details, filter functionality. Again, it's not there, but who knows, while we're doing this, maybe somebody added this functionality. Responsive designs, cart interaction. So it's not like exploration, like the next step in each step that will, this will not work. But if you're thinking about starting from a certain point and what should you do next, this is like a good suggestion list. So then you can like do it and say, done this, don't need to do this. Can you offer some more? So if you give it some kind of starting point or steps of how you got there, it can sort of complete the puzzle for you and say, maybe you should try this. Again, treat this as suggestions, not as things that are mandated from the gods. Okay, so yeah, that's cool about making decisions about what should I do next, planning, stuff like that, but it's not the only thing that is helpful. Let's say that you've tested, you explored, like this is a sort of semi or completely manual thing that you're doing. And you say, excellent, this works. I don't want to use the word documentation, but so document it. So I'm not going to talk about like put a Jira ticket or something like that or something. But there is something that I would like to do. I would probably want to take this scenario that I did, and I want to like document it. I want to create a test script out of it. So I can run this in one of the my test suites, my automation test suites that I run. So I've done all this. This works. Let's test. Let's create a test for it. So it's very easy to generate tests, obviously. So I gave it a prompt. Please create a playwright test in Python. This is why I'm showing you this in PyCharm. For the case of logging functionality with valid credentials, the test should succeed if after logging in, there's a navigation to the product page. That's what it did. So this is a playwright script. It does what it needs to do. So it goes to the main page, puts in the right users and passwords, fills in the text boxes, clicks, validates that I've gone to the inventory page, which is what I asked, does a couple more expects on printing that I didn't ask for, but mainly that's a good idea. It doesn't work. The problem it doesn't work is that the selectors. That's okay. I can fix that. Again, what we're trying to do today is not judge how well our AI co-pilots and co-testers work. It's not about that. Because, like I said, we need to be their co-pilots. We need to be the approvers. We need to run this and make sure that it works or not. But think about two scenarios. One is I would have to write this from the start. It will take me time. This is like, again, 2-3 seconds. And I need to fix it, which couple more seconds. What if I couldn't? What if I couldn't write it because I don't automate stuff, not either recently or before. This is a way not just to improve myself and knowledge and stuff like that. I can sort of cement this works and create an automated test. It will not, I will not have to go through this again because once this works, obviously, don't need to do it again. And if I didn't know how to automate stuff, now I can. Mind blowing. Okay, so I was well, I had the expectation that it would work, and I tried to do something a bit more fancy. From that, I asked it, well, you know, can you refactor test to use the page object model pattern? And the reason I asked this is not just to see if it can do this, because obviously it can do this. You see there's a login page and the product page, and the test actually does the same thing. It actually does this very well. It doesn't work because of the selectors, but again, I'm putting that aside. The reason I was doing this is like, it's an example of how when you generate a test, it generates it the way it's, let's call it the way it wants to do it. There's no want in there, but it's not the way you want to do it because you have already some automation infrastructure that is using page object models, or it's not exactly like that, or it uses other things. So not just create a test for me, create a test that would make it easy for me to put in my suite. And sometimes it takes a couple of steps. Sometimes going to be steps after that that you'll have to do. But again, it gets you closer to what you want, and what is exactly what I said. I want to have an automated test that next time I'm going to run. instead of explore this area, and it will tell me if something is wrong or not. So even if you have some kind of automation already in place and use some kind of principles and patterns that you use, you can teach it. And you can teach it, or it maybe already knows, like page object model. Everybody knows the page object model. So you can create not just any code, but code that resembles what you already have. Something that relates to this. Let's say that you want to. This is like a scenario of like a whole scenario that you want, and you know what you're expecting, but a lot of the time you have to do all kinds of preparation just to get to a point where you need to explore. Why not automate that? So we're talking about how do you teach it your base code? So there's a question about how do I teach it? That either you can train models like for your own, or you can ask with known patterns. My examples would be like, all my tests are with all capitals, or something like that. Depends on what kind of patterns you're using. If you're using some kind of interface, this is my interface that I'm using for mocking this kind of dependency. Use it in your test to mock this kind of dependency. You can play with the prompts to a point. It will work or not, depending of how well you ask. It probably will leave you with some work. It's not going to be like writing everything from scratch. Okay, so we want to get to a point. So I gave the prompt, I want to explore the cart page. Please create a script for me that logs into the application, selects 2 items, and goes to the cart page. I'll take it from there. So yes, first of all, it's not a test. You can see if you're familiar with tests in Python, this is not a test. Tests should start with test. But other than that, it's a script. It's a Playwright script that opens a browser and navigates, doesn't find the selectors, again, the known problem, but let's skip over that. And make sure that we got to the right URL, selects 2 items, didn't tell them which one, 1 and 4, could direct them. Like I said, I kept it vague. So I did number 1, number 2, verifies that actually the cart says 2 things, and clicks the cart, make sure that I actually got there, and it doesn't actually close the browser. I can actually start from there. So this does, if you run it, like it doesn't close the browser, can actually continue. So getting to a point, very important. Like, would you like to start everything from the login every time? No, why would you? So you want to explore something that is 3 pages away or something like that. Record that, generate something like that out of a prompt. It's very easy when it knows what it's talking about. Okay. Final things I wanted to do was something like this. I wanted to prepare data. So one of the things that we talked about, preparation. I want to get to a point that means I need to log in and stuff like that. And sometimes I need to prepare data and do things like preparing things in the database or stuff like that. Why not help me prepare data? So I went back to the API case. So we're talking about creating input data. And so I asked for a prompt. For the API testing case in Star Trek API, there's a search API for character for the post version of the API. Please prepare 2 possible input requests bodies, one for Spock from the mirror universe and one for Spock 2. There's a Spock 2 in there. I know, I checked. And the response was this. Here are 2 possible inputs, Spock from the mirror universe, which I'm going to show you the JSON in a JSON format for, and search for Spock 2. Both requests include pagination parameters, and they'll actually look like this: Spock mirror page and Spock to JSON. So I tried this and it doesn't work, but it's not that the suggestion didn't work. So I could actually run this. I just tested the application, Static API database, and it failed. So there's a bug there. Excellent. But the test that was generated, or the data that was generated, is correct. So, and you can see that this is Spock from the mirror universe, and this is Spock 2, not from the mirror universe. The default is false. So it is a correct data. And I could tell because I know the kind of data that the application needs. You'll need to be the judge also. You'll need to verify as well. But think about this, like you give it like a template or something, in our case, a YAML file, it will just do this for you. How cool is that? Okay, final thing that you may need is something not just input data, but results data. You want some kind of reference of what will happen. This is a bit more tricky because it doesn't actually run it. So we have some kind of expected results, and we're going to look at the actual result and compare them. And we want to see that they are correct. So I asked it, for the final two cases, which I gave you, please prepare result files that I can compare to when I run the requests. The response was this. And before I show you the JSONs, which are very big, here are expected results for Spock from Mirror and Spock 2. Note that the actual response from the API might contain additional fields or slightly different. Remember, it doesn't run it. And all I talk to you about today is how you talk to an what we call chat client or an LLM, not an agent that will do things for you. Of course, there are things that will do this for you, but we're not going to talk about them today. But it doesn't run it, so it just checks the schema and try to create something with it. So it tells you like it may not be complete or may not have all the fields that you want when you complete it. These expected results are based on typical structure of responses, blah, 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 blah. When comparing API responses, I'd recommend focusing on the key fields like UID. Yeah, don't do that. Name, mirror status, and so on, because the ID might be dynamic. It might change. So mirror status and other characters. Let's look at what it gave me. So Spock Mirror, it actually said the name is Spock Mirror, which is not. It's Spock. If you actually do this, you'll get the result Spock with mirror equals true. It fills in some kind of information where you got it, like Spock is male, and I'm not sure if I think it is correct. And the ID probably is not true, but it may be, depending on what's out there. So you get something that you need to validate or corroborate that will be used by you to compare. So this is not true, but Spock 2 is. So I don't know why I decided to call it Spock Mirror, but can't have everything. So these are the things that I picked to show you that can be done today. I'm going to jump in back to my slides. So this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about replacing you or me or ourselves. We're not replacing the whole process, but little bits of it can be boosted. And what I want you to think about is not what we wanted to basically, we're not there to boost our process. This is not what we want. What we actually want is more coverage, and not the regular coverage that we always talk about. In the time that we want, in terms of exploration, we want to cover more and more areas. We want to learn as much as we can about them. And this is the coverage that I'm talking about. And in order to do this within our allotted time, we can do more of this if we can speed up things inside the process itself. So we can do a lot more preparation in advance with a couple more seconds. We can do the documentation or generation in seconds. We can come up with ideas of how to test in seconds. So all these things help us not just like create a quicker session. This is not what we want, although it's kind of a bonus. We want to explore more. And these things give us a lot of boosts. So what's next? I think that, again, I'm not sure where we're going to be replaceable. I don't think so. But I think this is where our sort of profession is going, is knowing where to delegate parts of the things that can be done. Most of the time, no, most, a lot of the times better than what we do, because we're going to miss stuff. Okay, computers are better than in remembering stuff and producing results. And but we need to be like the managers. We need to be the reviewers. We need to find a way to check that whatever we get in return for this time saving is correct and will produce results for us, not for Mr. Claude, in a way that would be helpful for our project. So I think the next thing that people should be doing is not just saying, this is cool, I'm going to do stuff with it. Do things that make sense in whatever you're doing in your process. Today we talked about exploration. Like I said, there are other webinars that I'm going to do that check the same aspects in different things that we're doing. And where do we keep our focus and management and validation parts, and what we can delegate. And depending on the quality of what we're getting, it can save us a lot of time, and we can, I think, maintain our goal, which is cover more in terms of testing. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. So thank you for listening, staying here. I hope it was beneficial for you. If you want my help in other things, not just AI or exploration, give me a beep on all kind of social media. You can watch this and other videos that I do, both webinars and short videos on YouTube. And if you have questions, this is going to be the time. So put them either in the checkbox or the Q&A. There was one question: if you don't know Python or you have just some basic knowledge of Python, could you write test with AI? Or will it be very hard? And what can help improve it? Okay, so first of all, you can ask to generate whatever you want. So if you have a team that is working with Java, you can ask for Java. It's not like you have to work in Python. I decided I haven't done Python in a while. Let's do it here. So that's one thing. The second thing, you need to be a good reviewer. Like I said, so if the test that I created, it created for me and I ran it and it failed, I need to understand why it failed, because I need to fix it. So it's not like you're releasing it and it will do this just for you because you asked. No, there's a place for it. So if you lack some skills in automation, you need people around you to help. I can help. But other than that, like the developers or other people who do automation on your team. So you can do that, but just relying on what it creates just for you, it's going to be very limited. So yes, like for example, the get me to a point might work, and it may or may not work. It worked for me, which is weird because it failed with the same selector as the test, but kind of managed to go through the script. So you need some coding or automation way to do it. You can use agents that will run it for you. That's possible as well, but they need to be taught how to do that. So, like I said, the first point of connection is with the developers, and I suggest like learn a bit of automation, starting with Python. I think it's the easiest one, but if you want to do this, you need some kind of coding. The reason I'm not talking about agents today. Agents might get you there, but like everything that you're doing in AI, you kind of have to rely on not only of the correctness, but also the repeatability. And this may or may not be repeatable. So what I showed you today, everything it does goes back to us. We need to be either confirming, corroborating it or not, and saying, this needs to be fixed. With agents, you kind of sort of delegate that away, and you lose the ability to say, this will always run the same way. Thank you for coming in today. Like I said, this video is going to be up in the next week or something like that. And I hope you enjoyed it and have a great continuation of the day. Bye-bye.